Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LO3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful land of enchantment, and today's date is Sunday, March 30th, 2020. Man, time is flying. Amazing. Yeah, I've been reading the fine print of that so-called stimulus bill, which is just a total farce. And all the people that voted for it are a bunch of dummies. Even the ones that matter what party you're in, folks. Stop making excuses. They don't care about you. Whether it's red or blue, expect to get screwed. And, of course, Congressman Thomas Massey from Kentucky called it as he see it. And, of course, you got John Kerry, one of the bend-over-bobbing globalists that will lick the boots of tyranny, wants to call him an asshole. And President Trump agreed with him. Huey and Dewey, indeed. Yes, I can criticize President Trump as well. So all you worshippers out there, better look at the bigger picture. And of course, I give some prestigious to Kathleen Bennett, was real critical about the package as well. It was one big cluster. So you gotta be, even if you may support the president, you have to criticize him based on his actions, and don't be a parrot. Have merit. Address the facts. And all those people that worship the blue guys, the blue heads, oh, they're for the people. No, they're not. They're just like they're elephants. Jackasses and elephants. George Washington warned us about this in his farewell address about political parties. So many folks out there are waking up. The rest of you, get with the program. Think for yourselves. Okay, so some interesting things are happening down in the state of Florida where I live. And I'm going to be talking about those things. I call it COVID-19 tyranny in Florida. And some of the things that can contradict the Florida Constitution. And other things as well, which another thing I will address pertaining to one of the incidents that happened with the state trying to tell the churches what to do. So, how many folks there are proud oath breakers? And they say, oh, it's all constitutional. Declaration of Rights means government keep out, just like the Bill of Rights. So without further ado, we'll just check this out. This one came out on the 27th on the state of Florida's Governor Executive Order 2086. And talks about, it's like 4 pages long, but it says here about, of course, novel coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 is a severe acute respiratory illness that can spread among humans through respiratory transmission and presents with symptoms similar to those of influenza. And on March 1st, 2020, I issued Executive Order 20-51 directing Florida Department of Health to issue a public health emergency. And on March 1st, 2020, the state Surgeon General and State Health Officer declared a public health emergency exists in the state of Florida as a result of COVID-19. And on March 9th, 2020, I issued Executive Order 2052 declaring a state of emergency for the entire state of Florida as a result of COVID-19. And on March 24th, 2020, I issued Executive Order 20-82 directing all persons from areas with substantial community spread who enter the state of Florida to isolate for quarantine for a period of 14 days. All right. And as governor, I'm responsible for meeting the dangers presented to this state and its people by this emergency. Now, therefore, I, Ron DeSantis, as governor of Florida, by virtue of authority vested in me by Article 4, Section 1A of the Florida Constitution, Chapter 252. I'm going to put that in there just in case, just so I'm look through that there. So forgive me here, my folks. I'm going to be... So you can see there's a lot of questioning right now as we speak. Freedom to travel, Did the state of Florida became a new country? So those are things you gotta question, okay? Those are one of the areas you have to observe. This is under emergency management. Always use the whole DuckDuckGo thing as well. So that's some good information there. Yeah, let me just look at that and go, where are you? Oh, perfect. Yay. Yeah, so we can use that on 252. A lot of stuff in here. Let's see what we can do with this. Make it bigger and all that. We'll just wing it. Yeah, a lot of stuff in here. So we'll just see how far this goes. I'll just take it from there. Just delete that and okay. Under emergency management, very interesting there. So I'm going to continue on. See what we got. Florida statutes and other applicable laws proclamated through the following executive order to take immediate effect. Section 1A is Section 1A. I hereby direct all persons who enter the state of Florida from an area with substantial community spread to include the state of Louisiana, inclusive of those entering the state of Florida, to roadways to isolate or quarantine for a period of 14 days from the time of entry into the state of Florida or duration of the person's presence in the state of Florida, whichever is shorter. This section shall not apply to persons performing military, emergency, health, or infrastructure response, or persons involved in any commercial activity. But some of these people may be positive of that, but they can go right through. This order shall take effective immediately and apply retroactively to all persons who have entered Florida after being in an area with substantial community spread. So it's more like investigating, okay? That can be considered incrimination. All persons isolated or quarantined under this section shall be responsible for all costs associated with their isolation or quarantine. So it's how responsible for all costs associated with isolation or quarantine, including transportation, lodging, food, and medical care, and other expenses sustained the person during a period of isolation or quarantine. This just sounds, if I read this more carefully, it sounds more like a form of involuntary servitude, extortion. Damn right. So you have to always look at those areas as well. So there's definitely a 13th Amendment issue of the U.S. Constitution, and we can use some of the areas under Florida Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, due process. Okay, so this is like you're gonna pay it without going through due process. It says here, B. I hereby direct all persons covered under 1A of this order to inform any individual in Florida with whom they had direct physical contact in the past 100 days that they travel from an area with substantial community spread. C. I direct the establishment of appropriate checkpoints on the roadway for those persons and vehicles entering Florida, and to require those persons to provide information, including in a written form regarding the origin of their travel and on the address of their location or isolation or quarantine for a period of 14 days. I further direct the Department of Transportation to facilitate locations for appropriate checkpoints, including at welcome centers, rest stops, and to facilitate the placement of road signs and advisories to provide information as ordered to direct traffic to the appropriate checkpoint. So, will you have an attorney present? Fact is, you have a right to remain silent. So I see another thing under Article 1, Section 9, which is incriminate and attempt to incriminate yourself. So they're going to be investigating everyone that goes in the state of Florida. If they're from Louisiana, if you have Louisiana plates, they may just stop you instantaneously. Okay, so it'll be a Fifth Amendment issue, of course, the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 9 again. So I want to add here the Bill of Rights on here, and it'll be from the JPFO because at least to do some clarification. I think that's important for all my colleagues to know, not just in the United States, but around the world. So I'm going to type this up. There's a lot of sketchy things going on here, what Governor DeSantis is doing. And I'm not trying to say that, okay, you want to protect people, which is all well and good, but you have to we have those basic rights, okay, under the 9th and 14th Amendments. So many people can use that as very disturbing indeed. Let me see here. I'm trying to, oh shoot, got the wrong confounded thing here. Okay, one moment. Oh yeah, I'm in the right spot. What the hell am I doing here? Yeah, so I'm just browsing away here, but it is very disheartening indeed when you try to do things correctly and all that. And yes, I'm going to throw the Bill of Rights up there as well. Okay, where are you? Ooh, hold on here. Yeah, I know. Sorry for a little delay here, my friends, and no intent. So, where are you? Bill of Rights. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. There are multiple languages here as well, so I'm going to add that to the memo because there's a lot of merit. You can use the 14th Amendment as well, or in case of Roe versus Wade, right of privacy. You can use the 9th, yeah, so definitely use the 9th Amendment on that one. So I'm going to add that to the mix. So the Florida Constitution, boom. So I'm going to continue on here. Of course, D, section, the percent to section is 252.36 5B and 252.47 Florida statutes. The Florida Highway Patrol and county sheriffs are directed to assist with the establishment of appropriate checkpoints, the flow of traffic to those checkpoints, and any enforcement actions. Section 2, failure to follow Section 1 of the order is a second-degree misdemeanor pursuant to 25250 Florida statutes is punishable by imprisonment not to exceed 60 days or a fine not to exceed $500 or both. Okay, so so like I said, so how does it precede both U.S. and Florida constitutions? Absolutely not. So based on this, I know about these orders, emergency orders, but what the bottom line is it's not a they cannot actually suspend habeas corpus. And what the hell? Yeah, okay, cool. But there's definitely you cannot suspend habeas corpus. Okay. And those are the facts. So, they can say whatever the hell they want. It's null and void, So, I'll leave the Florida. I'm gonna definitely leave the statutes up here as well, just to let you folks know, and the Florida Constitution. Oops. So just It would be interesting. We should all try to get the same thing with the whole. Yeah, let me just use that. Let me see. Nah, I don't like that one. I'll just set this back. Yeah, sorry for the little delays, friends. I'm just trying to wing it here. I'll use the Ballotpedia one. That's a good one. Because you don't have to really go through the whole shebang. You just go. Will be Article 1 for sure, alright? You can read it for yourself. Nope, where are you? There it is. Beep. Excellent. So I'm going to add that to the memo on here. Yeah, so, alright, cool. I'm going to continue on. I know I'm dragging this, no intent. Okay, B, pursuant to Section 381-0012, subsection 5, Florida statutes, it shall be the duty of every state and county attorney, sheriff, police officer, and other appropriate city and county officials, upon a request, to assist the Department of Health in enforcing any isolation or quarantine. The state health department and law and order of the Department of Health issued in this pursuant to this order, Section 4, to the extent necessary, the exceptions of this order are applicable to Executive Order 2080, Section 1A, and 20-82, Section 1A. 5. The executive order shall expire upon expiration of the executive order, 2052, including any extensions. So it will be around April 15th, I think it is, so or April 30th, to including any extensions upon an executive order lifting the isolation or quarantine after the advice from the state officer or surgeon general. And of course, he signed it. It's on the 27th he signed this. And Laurel M. Lee was Secretary of State, attested to it. So yes, it's just a whole lot of tyranny going on right now in Florida when it comes to the COVID-19. And this supposed to be another one he's supposed to be doing. It's right here, which is Miami Herald report this. DeSantis said he misspoke. South Florida to stay home until April 15th, not May 15th. Okay, so still until April 15th. Okay, as it reads here, but it can extend. Governor Ron DeSantis announced Monday morning that those living in Southeast Florida should stay home until mid-May to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 illness caused by the novel coronavirus. He will sign an executive order, he said, urging those in Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and Monroe County to stay home. The news spread quickly as thousands of South Floridians reading online and watching on television mentally prepared to stay indoors and stay away from work for another month and a half. The Republican Party of Florida even issued a statement from Sarasota Senator Joe Gruters, who's double as a party chair, noting midday date. Ron DeSantis is resolutely leading the state through the coronavirus outbreak with measured, informed, effective actions to protect the health and rights of Floridians, he wrote. I see double speak there, okay? In between his 10 a.m. stop at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens and his 1:30 p.m. appearance in Palm Beach County, his schedule showed at 11:30 a.m. conference call with other governors and Vice President Mike Pence. He should be running the Senate, for goodness sakes, okay? It's like, let him run the Senate, get the Surgeon General to take that lead. Then later, at the press conference in Palm Beach County, DeSantis clarified that he meant April 15th, not mid-May, for an end date for he called the safer at home order for millions of residents. When asked why the error wasn't immediately corrected, a spokeswoman for the government said neither she nor anyone else caught it, and at the end of the date for the order wasn't in his notes. Okay, human elements do occur. I'm not gonna, go around just jumping the gun, but I'll just continue on. His order, which was filed with the state by 5:26 p.m. Monday, sets in stone what many South Florida communities have already done to prevent the spread of the virus. I say build up your immune system, folks. Just don't be parroting the CDC guidelines. This codifies a common set of rules regarding, This codifies a common set of rules regarding safer at home in Southeast Florida, he said, and all 4 counties operating under the same sheet of music. The order allows DeSantis to renew or otherwise modify it in the future. As of Monday morning, 4 counties made up 59% of the confirmed positive novel coronavirus cases in the state. The safer at home language comes from Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez ordered last week for residents to leave home for essential work or to pick up food and medication. How about if I want to see my girlfriend, right? That's not important. Brown County also ordered residents to stay home, and have several municipalities in the area. Local governments have also established curfews, which is null and void. Okay, and fines and other measures to keep people at home. Orange County, which is not affected by the order, has also implemented certain orders. DeSantis, who has rejected the idea of statewide stay-at-home order, said Monday's actions make sense for the region because the number of cases have concentrated there. Meanwhile, criticism over the lack of statewide actions mount Of course, you got all those Huey and Deweys out there. I'll just continue on. Meanwhile, criticism across 30 around 30 states across the country have issued some sort of statewide stay-at-home in order in recent weeks. Last week, several Democrats in the Senate called on DeSantis to issue some sort of statewide order. Their action formed by a letter by 10 Democratic members of Congress urging DeSantis to act. Former Vice President Joe Biden, the Democrats' leading presidential contender, and another bend over Bob to the New World Order, I'm not afraid to say that, even weighed in suggesting DeSantis is ignoring health professionals in the state with a large population of vulnerable senior citizens. Yeah, you can't even wipe your own rear end, and you're a freedom-hating sap, so you know what? You need to go back to your corner, old-timer Junior. And I say that out of love, all right? His actions are horrendous, my friends. So that's why I call him a hack, a sap, and a New World Order butt boy. And I'm digressing. Okay, so it says drawn by mayors from Miami-Dade County, Broward, Palm Beach, and Monroe counties. Florida Governor DeSantis Center said during the press conference Monday they'll ease restrictions that will allow retired first responders and healthcare workers to return to work. State Senator Jose Javier Rodriguez said in a statement that while the regional order is welcome, the patchwork approach will not cut it. Okay, it's more like a fear thing. And of course here, because we remain so far behind on testing, we cannot know how far behind we are trying to catch up with the virus as it spreads. The Miami Democrat says counties like Lee, for example, have medical professionals urging for safer at home orders, reminding us why statewide orders is the best approach. Well, I have a question for you, Mr. Rodriguez, and all those lackeys. How about these 5G towers that is around certain areas of South Florida, including Miami-Dade County, Miami Gardens by the stadium, for goodness sakes? That actually, folks, it's very dangerous radioactivity, according to some of the good amount of scientists that investigate these things. And that can really hurt the virus. They can affect people's health as well. Just do a little homework on this, okay? Instead of listening to these bobbleheads tell you how to think. All right, and it says here, on Monday, DeSantis also announced that he will sign an order lifting restrictions on sending recently retired law enforcement and healthcare professionals back to work. Statute prohibits certain types of employees from returning to work with 6 months of retirement. So that's by Samantha Gross. She actually wrote this. And so, there's more things you gotta question. More things you gotta question, folks, and in these areas. And like I said, there's a lot of contradictions going on. Like what he's doing, basic rights, Article 2 at the most, okay? And with these checkpoints, you can go Article 2, you can hit Article 9, okay? You can hit Section 9, all right, of the Florida Constitution, or due process, basic rights, due process, and of course, if they do searches and seizures, that's considered a violation of Section 12 of our Declaration of Rights. And of course, it may do a bill of attainder. That's because that's considered a bill of attainder. All right, try to get all the information, try to make you feel, hey, you're guilty till proven innocent. That's potential too. So prohibited law is Section 10. All right, no bill of attainder or ex post facto law or law impairing the obligation of contract shall be passed. So can you question the order what Governor DeSantis signed? And habeas corpus, once again, the writ of habeas corpus shall be granted of right freely and without cost. It shall be returnable without delay and shall never be suspended unless, in the case of rebellion or invasion, suspension is the essential to the public safety. That's it. Only rebellion and invasion. Okay, that's it. So this order can be considered invalid. These are things you could challenge it, and even on the U.S. and the Florida, even Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution says the same thing on that, pertaining to that matter. And of course, even with these checkpoints, and they can look down on Section 23, right of privacy, Every natural person has a right to be alone and free from governmental intrusion into the person's private life, except as otherwise provided herein. This section shall not be construed to limit the public's right of access to public records and meetings as provided by law. So you don't have to say a damn thing to them. They can even use Roe versus Wade, right of privacy. Okay, so those are the areas you have to really look at. Of course, our Bill of Rights, same thing. Okay, like I said, Amendment 4, Fourth Amendment, same thing, which is Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, and we can use Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments conflicted. And this can violate your Ninth Amendment as well. Enumeration of the Constitution and certain rights should not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And if I'm correct, there's one in here pertaining to that. Due process, I got that correct. Habeas corpus. 17, yeah, 17 I think it is, right? Section 17. I need to look at that. Yeah, excessive punishment, same thing. Excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishment, attainder, forfeiture, estates, definite imprisonment, and unreasonable detention. Witnesses are forbidden. All witnesses are forbidden. So that's good. That's got another conflict of interest as well. That's how I gotta look at it. And I'm not crazy about government and all that. And I'm not saying DeSantis is a power-hungry guy, but he has a lot of areas I wasn't too fond of as a governor and even as a congressman. And if you hear some of my past episode, I did stuff on him and Gillum on the gubernatorial race. I told it about the gubernatorial race, and I put that and said, don't believe the hype. And so you're always got to be vigilant here. And speaking right now, I like to use, I got messed up there, boom. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to add all this in here. Okay, cool. Let's put this in the same category. Yeah. They get to look at this themselves. But, let's check. This is what's interesting is happening right now. But, from the couple articles I'm going to read from creativeloafing.com. And this is a reference to Howard Brown. And what's going on with Mr. Brown? He's been doing a lot of his churches, even with the order telling him to shut down the churches. And it's very interesting when some people may not like what he stands for and all that, but who the hell cares? What we have to say is that Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office issues warrant for Tampa pastor who held service during coronavirus outbreak. He made a claim that, however, has claimed that his church is an essential business. That's not a real good word to say, my friend. Okay, it's like you're trying to say your church is a business. That's one of his foot in the mouth routines. But let's just read what it has to say here. Last Sunday, evangelical pastor Ronnie Howard Brown held 2 church services in front of thousands of members at his mega church in Tampa, potentially exposing them to coronavirus. And now Hillsborough County Sheriff has issued a warrant for his arrest. Speaking at a press conference Monday afternoon, Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cronister said the arrest warrant for Howard Brown include unlawful assembly and violation of public health emergency rules. They're going to use 252. Both are second-degree misdemeanors, punishable up to 6 days in jail with a maximum fine of $500. Our goal is not to stop people from worshiping, says Cronister, but safety and well-being of our community must always come first. Okay, so freedom and liberty is secondary, not over safety. See, this right here, okay, what Sheriff Cronister says He says, I'm a proud oath breaker by violating Article 2, Section 5 of the Florida Constitution to protect and defend both the U.S. and Florida Constitutions. Right there, he failed, folks. But I'm going to continue on here. A live stream of worship service from last Saturday at the River Tampa Bay Church, where Howard Brown is the head pastor, shows a large congregation packed into his mega church, presumably violating the county and state orders requiring gathering by fewer than 10 people. It's a shame that someone has taken advantage for this, for whatever reason. And I just don't understand it at a canister. The only reason I can see that it's a reckless reason put your parishioners in jeopardy. But you, sir, you're a proud oath breaker. You're considered reckless. You're considered negligent. You're considered invalid in your position. But I'll continue on here. Howard Brown has claimed that his church is essential business, which that's a stupid thing to say. I have to, according to this article, you never use that, okay? And that orders him to shut down that orders for him to shut down violates his First Amendment rights. He always use that. They always like to use a corporate doctrination, okay, the U.S. Constitution. And well, I'm going to proceed here. The River Tampa Bay Church has an advantage over most places of worship, says Carnister, and that they have access to technology, allowing them to live stream their service over the internet and broadcast television for more than 4,000 members to watch from their safety from their own homes. Instead, they encourage people to come and gather at the church, even provide bus transportation for their services. Well, the question I have for Carnister, who the hell is putting a gun to the head to go to this event? Can you tell me that, sir? Please. Carnister said Howard Brown, who lives in Hernando County, is in the process of turning himself in, but his deputies will go get him if they have to. Ooh. As a sheriff's office would never impede a person's religious beliefs as a means of comfort, but practicing those beliefs has to be done safely. So he's going to tell you how to wipe your own rear end and how to use the bathroom and how to preach the scriptures. This is what the Sheriff Carnister has to say. Okay, can we say separation of church and state? Yeah, you can say that, folks. Don't be shy. State Attorney Andrew Warrant was also in attendance at Tuesday's press conference, and they stated that it's unfortunate that the pastor is hiding behind the First Amendment. Oh, sorry, I'll go on here. When it's absolutely clear that emergency orders like this are clear and constitutional and valid, said Warren. Yes, folks, I read Article 1, Section Article 4, Section 1A of the governor's job. Please stop conning a con man. All right. Second, all leaders from our faith-based communities across have embraced the importance of social distancing. They have encouraged the congregation to practice social distancing for their own health and to slow the spread of COVID-19. I'm just wondering how many of those churches are 501c3 approved, even with Howard Brown. Okay, so you always got to look out for those things. Last week, Howard Brown claimed his church was the most sterile building in America. Welcomed his congregation to his building this weekend. The Lord has helped us to secure our congregation, says Howard Brown. We brought in 13 machines that basically kill every virus in the place. And if somebody walks through the door, it's like it kills everything on them. They sneeze, it shoots it down like 100 miles an hour. It neutralizes in a split second. We have a sterile building in, and I don't know, all of America. The Tampa pastor is a well-known conspiracy theorist who, in the past, has told his followers that the Vegas shooting of 2017 was a false flag operation. I did a show on that, by the way. Gladiator in Las Vegas. Take a listen to it, because I gave you my intake on that. And, of course, the chemtrails and weather manipulation are real, and that he has the power to cure the coronavirus in Florida, just like he did with Zika. It was fun about the Zika virus. I did one on that too. Zika virus exposed. You just look it up. Just go on my Spreaker page. Just look it up, and it's in there. And as it says here, Howard Brown was one of the handful of evangelical pastors who famously prayed over Trump in the Oval Office. Update, Howard Brown has now officially been arrested and was booked at 2:22 p.m. at the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. So, I see a lot of flip-flop. I see a lot of contradictions from both Sheriff Carnister and the State Attorney Andrew Warren. All right, and what they have announced to the world that your basic rights don't count. Safety is more important than your basic rights. Your religious freedom is violated under Article 1, Section 3. There shall be no law respecting the subject of religion or prohibiting or penalizing the exercise thereof. Religious freedom shall not justify practices inconsistent with public morals, peace, or safety. See, it's a real vague statement on that, okay? But the big thing about the whole religious freedom is being breached. Of course, freedom of speech, okay, which is Section 4. Every person may speak, right, and publish sermons on all subjects, but shall be responsible for the abuse of that right. So, Section 5, right here, it says, the people shall have the right peaceably to assemble, people shall have the right peaceably to assemble, to instruct their representatives, and to petition for redress of grievances. So we can look at that too. Alright? And so he's still innocent until proven guilty. Okay, so he questions, September 11th and what happened in Vegas, and I do too. So what, you gonna call him, so I'm gonna be on your hit list? To those elected chumps, whether it's federal, state, or local? Alright? And I'm gonna keep on going here with the same thing with yeah, it's called oh shoot. I just had like a brain fart. Creative Loafing. And this one here is by Colin Wolfe. Came out on the 20th as well. 4 p.m. to be exact. Notorious Bigot. I love how they say that. Matt Staver will represent Tampa pastor arrest for holding services during coronavirus outbreak. Okay, so Staver is probably most well known for representing Kim Davis. Also, the LGBT community may be offended by this. Well, hey, he has a right to count. The pastor has a right to counsel too. So it says here, Liberty Council Chairman Matthew Staver, a guy who once said that the Q, LGBTQ, stands for pedophilia, okay, will represent Tampa pastor Rodney Howard Brown, who was arrested today after ignoring local and state emergency orders for holding services at his mega church last weekend, which potentially exposed thousands to coronavirus. In a statement released Monday afternoon, Staver argued that the ordering banning groups of 10 or more from the gathering should not have applied to the River Tampa Bay Church, where Howard Brown is head pastor, and that the church did, in fact, enforce social distancing rules. Well, even Article 1, Section 3, religious freedom, and Section 5, right to peaceably to assemble. Okay, so the Hillsborough County Administrative Order has so many exceptions, it looks like Swiss cheese. Argues Staver in a statement, the order allows a wide range of commercial operations that are either specifically exempt or exempt if they can comply with 6-foot separation. Yet, if the purpose of your meeting is religious, the county prohibits it with no exception for a 6-foot separation. A live stream of worship service from last Sunday showed a large congregation packed into Howard Brown's megachurch, presumably violating the county and state orders requiring the gathering be fewer than 10 people and rules on social distancing. The problem with the administrative order was reviewed by constitutional experts or vetted by a deliberative body. Neither the Constitution nor Florida law protecting churches and free exercise of religions disappear, continued Staver. This order of Hillsborough County was narrowly tailored to achieve this underlying objective. In his statement, Statement Staver also claimed that the church gave out hand sanitizer, the 6-foot rule was enforced, and that the staff wore gloves. It should be noted that no one in the live stream can be seen wearing gloves or observing the 6-foot social distancing rule. So he had a live stream thing. So it's an interesting claim about that. Staver also said the church spent $100,000 on a hospital-grade purification system. So he may be a state. I'm just wondering. We have to find out if he's a 501c3 church, right? Absolutely. But regardless, earlier this week, Howard Brown declared that his church was the most sterile building in America and should be deemed an essential business. See, he shouldn't use that term. He's like putting his foot in his mouth. It's a house of worship, dummy. Also, in arguing that orders for him to shut down violate his First Amendment rights, Howard Brown then held two services last Sunday. In response, Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cornister issued an arrest warrant for Howard Brown, charging him with unlawful assembly and violation of public health emergency rules. Both are second-degree misdemeanors, punishable up to 6 days in jail with a maximum $500 fine. The River Tampa Bay Church has an advantage over most places of worship, said Cornister at a press conference, as they have access to technology, allowing them to stream their services over the internet and broadcast television for more than 4,000 members to watch from safety in their homes. Well, if they have the technology, they can use it, but people showed up. That's their responsibility. Okay, so that's the thing you got to look at, folks, personal responsibility. Instead, they encourage people to come together at the church, even provided bus transportation for the services. On Monday afternoon, Howard Brown turned himself in to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. I was shocked that Sheriff Cornister held his press conference before the arrest was completed, said Staver in the statement. I'm astounded that Sheriff Cornister used his press conference to lecture about the Bible. I know, right? This is entirely inappropriate for a government official to take the sides on religion. Staver is probably best known for representing Kim Davis, the Kentucky County Clerk who refused to issue marriage licenses to gay people back in 2015. And to be very frank, I believe the rights of an individual, but remember, marriage licenses is commercial law. So all you folks out there that are in that community, I'm not condemning, but it's like even heterosexuals, it doesn't matter. These licenses are commercial law, and it breaches your rights, and based on the Supreme Court decision, it actually violates the 10th Amendment. And I'm not crazy about Kim Davis. I don't even know the person, so I've seen some of the footage, but you know what? This is how it goes, all right? But it should also be noted that he has past of wildly insane notions, like Jay-Z's a known Satanist, and that the Pulse nightclub responder probably needed to get tested for AIDS-related conditions after the shooting at the gay nightclub that left 49 people. Probably he was a mind control hack anyway, Omar Mateen. So, and I talked about that too a while back. So, the Orlando-based Liberty Council associated with Jerry Falwell Jr. Liberty University, which co-essentially allows students and faculty to return to class this week, only to have over a dozen report symptoms of COVID-19. So it's interesting there because I've used all that about the Florida Constitution, which contradicts that. And interesting because his church is in Tampa. Okay. And there's a resolution that was passed around, I think it was February 4th, I think it was, or May 4th, or April 4th, or April 9th. I'm just going to look at this for a moment. Yeah, the resolution, it was resolution 2004-491. And it was interesting about the whole resolution to the City Council of the City of Tampa, Florida, supporting proposed amendments to the U.S. Patriot Act, repeal the proportion of such act that violates certain fundamental rights and protections within. And this is like I like what it says here, okay? And I'm just going to go through a few of these areas that the City of Tampa, okay, should be going after Chronister, and Warrant, okay, on this matter. Because it says here, whereas the city of Tampa and the citizens are governed by the United States Constitution, including the Bill of Rights and the Florida Constitution and Declaration of Rights. That's Article 1, which guarantees certain fundamental civil rights, including freedom of religion, speech, assembly, and privacy, protection from unreasonable searches and seizures, due process of the law, equal protection under the law to any person, equality before the law, and the presumption of innocence, access to counsel, to the court, judicial proceedings, and fair, speedy trial. Okay? And I think the ACLU should jump on this as well. Yeah, okay, you guy may be quirky and all that, but it should jump on this, challenge it, and I would even encourage what's his name, John Whitehead from the Rutherford Institute. He should know about this as well. So one of these areas you got to really look at, and I am a member of that organization too. So, and of course it says here about the city is proud of its long distinguished tradition of protecting civil rights and liberties of its residents. And the city has a diverse population, including immigrants and students whose contribution to the community, economic, cultural, and civic character. And of course here, the city recognizes the preservation of civil rights and liberties in the entire community is essential to a well-being democratic society. So that is good right there. And I can just go along down here. Okay. The city can be, like it says here, the City Council of the City of Tampa believes that there is no inherent conflict between national security interests and the preservation of liberty at home, and holds that individuals in the city can be both safe and free. All right, and so even right here, the city recognizes that overzealous government security measures which undermine fundamental civil liberty interests damage American democratic institutions and values that the residents of the city hold dear. So I would bring this resolution in here as well as evidence. I think the city of Tampa should support this guy, whether if you like him or not. He may be a nut job, he may be a charlatan for all I know. I'm not judging the man. However, his rights are being violated. On a federal, of course, on the state, and it's a local thing on these resolutions. It is important to know these things, my friends, and this is why I'm always one of those folks that supports these things. And I like it says here on now therefore the be a city resolved in the council of the city of Tampa that one, the city now joins other communities and affirms both its strong opposition to terrorism and its steadfast support for the civil rights for all people living in the city in accordance with the Bill of Rights and the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and the Florida Constitution and Declaration of Rights. So there you have it. I'm going to add that to the memo, okay, on this matter. And it's one of the areas we always got to look at, my friends. So I'm going to throw all these in here because I'll throw all these in here so you folks can know. I will add the whole 252 of the emergency management, and you can browse around all you want on that. So based on this, I can say this: the arrest warrant is a negated document. It's null and void. Even Warren breaches oath of office as well. He should be ashamed of himself for pursuing this matter, because safety's not. That's the first thing. Protecting liberty is. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the COVID-19 virus is a hoax and all that. But I'm critical when it comes to the sphere of manifestation. That's the things I really question. And I'm very critical in those areas because you can't give up your freedom for security because it will burn you in the rear end. And many folks out there still running panic. It's not the way to do it. And I'm not the only one that says this. Give you a little person here that future of what's the FE stand for again? is from FEE.org, which is the Foundation for Economic Education. And this one here is about Mercy Otis Warren. And it says here, why this daughter belonging... Wait, let me see here. So hold on, I'm just like... Why Mercy Otis Warren belongs in the Pantheon of America's founders. It is by not now. Let's do this. Okay, cool. I'm going to go back to the other way. Gary M. Gallus wrote this. It says here, March is National Women's History Month, but despite the heightening attention it brings to women's influence in American history, one continues to get far too little attention. Mercy Otis Warren. She was born in 1728 to 1814. After all, she has been called the conscience of the American Revolution. Both Thomas Jefferson and John Adams called her a genius. And Elizabeth Elliot described her as the most remarkable woman who lived in the days of the American Revolution. Mercy Warren was the sister of James Otis and the wife of James Warren, both intense revolutionaries, and hosted groups including the Sons of Liberty and committees of correspondence in her home. However, it was primarily her writing that made her perhaps the most important Revolutionary War women. Warren wrote plays, poetry, and more anonymously until her 1790 poems, dramatic and miscellaneous, as well as corresponding with many America's leading figures. But she is best known for a series of pro-independent plays that attack British policies and officials, including the Aldator, 1772, The Defeat, 1773, The Group, 1775, and The Blockheads, 1776. She wrote the Anti-Federalist Observations on the new Constitution by Columbian Patriot, initially attributed to Elbridge Gerry in 1788, objecting to the U.S. Constitution for failing to include a Bill of Rights and safeguarding against a standing army and other issues, as well as the 3 volumes of The Rise, Progress, and Termination of the American Revolution, 1805, her eyewitness account of the Revolution. Consider some of the most memorable insights. We have seen in all ages that many become slaves of a few, once aroused to a consciousness of the native freedom and equal rights of man. Every revolts an idea of servitude. The game deception is played over and over that mankind in general are incapable of the enjoyment of that liberty which nature seems to prescribe. Mankind may amuse themselves with theoretic systems of liberty, but we can also discern its true value by the practical and wrench effects of slavery. The perfect stability of man may be left for the dreaming socialist, while the rational liberty to which all have a right must be exhibited and defended by the men of principle and heroism for better understand the laws of social order. The government is instituted for the protection, safety, and happiness of the people. So, yes, protection, okay? It's got to be across the board. So sometimes I can correct myself when I said safety first. Liberty, safety, protecting their rights. Okay, that's my version of safety. But I'll continue on here. Of the people, government is instituted for the protection of safety and happiness of the people who have uncontestable right to check the creatures of their own creation, to guard life, liberty, and property of the community. Basic rights. The rights of individuals ought to be the primary object of all government and cannot be too securely granted by the most explicit declarations in their favor. Every domestic enjoyment depends on the right of personal liberty, which everyone justly claims. When the first rudiments of society has been established, the right of private property has been held scared. a sacred, a sacred, a scared, a sacred, is it scared? Yeah, it's scared, I'm sorry. No, sacred. A sacred regard to personal liberty and the protection of private property were embraced by those who had any just ideas of government, law, equity, or morals. These were the rights of men. America stepped forth in vindication of rights of human nature. America has fought for the boon of liberty, guarded on every side, that might not be sported away by the folly of the people or the intrigue of deception of their ruler. It is necessary to guard every point against the intrigues of artful or ambitious men who may subvert the constitutional system, but most conducive to the general happiness of society. The independence of the United States must be secured by an undeviating adherence to the principle that produced the Revolution, grounded in the natural equality of man, and that sovereignty which cannot be ceded either to representatives or to kings. Resist the first approach of tyranny, which threatened to sweep away the right for which the brave sons of America have fought. Any attempt to subvert the Constitution or undermine that just principles which wrought out the American Revolution cannot be too severely censured. It is necessary for every American to stop the dissemination of principles evidently destructive of the cause for which they have bled, to rescue and save their civil and religious rights from the outstretched arm of tyranny. There are still many among us who revere liberty's name too much to relinquish the rights of man. America's principles may finally spread universal liberty and peace as far as is compatible with the present state of human nature. Mercy Otis Warren was a highly influential writer backing American independence and government based in liberty in an era when women didn't write for the public. As someone who has seen turn the real doll of the American Revolution, she deserves to be included with the founders rather than excluded by focusing attention only on our founding fathers as an articulate voice for founding principle of liberty. America's role in making into reality and what it takes to preserve the liberty had won in the American Revolution. Her stirring commitment to liberty is no less important to maintain today because public opinion, when grounded on false principles, sometimes creates a tyranny felt by the minority more severely than that usually inflicted by a monarch. What can you say? I have to agree, folks. That was really nice. It's the truth. Don't forget, my friends, there's a lot of great women that stood for freedom during that time, and they have to be declared as heroes and mothers, sisters, brothers, etc. So I gotta say, I love it. And we should all send this to Governor DeSantis, Cronick, and Warren. Alright, that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share through social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, maybe something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please set your decorum with decorum. Furthermore, I shall leave all the footnotes of this episode on my Spreaker page. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.